Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Frank Granito, Chief Scientist with the Institute for Digital Transformation. And today I have the honor of speaking with Institute Fellow and contributing author, Roy Atkinson, contributing author to our new book, Digital Transformation Demystified. Welcome, Roy.
Great to be here, Frank. Thank you.
You are welcome, sir. So let's get right to it here. In your chapter, you state, not everyone understands the true depth and breadth of what the customer experience means. Why is it increasingly important, and what the digital experience means for it? So walk me through that quote there, that little soundbite. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are many different definitions of customer experience, just as there are for digital transformation, and it can be confusing. The best definition that I've seen comes from solution provider Zendesk, and it's short, sweet, clear. It says customer experience is everything related to a business that affects a customer's perception and feelings about it. So that covers the gamut. It's a relational rather than transactional, obviously, because it covers every interaction. It covers all the experiences that a customer has. And I broken that down into what I consider stages, and there are 8 of them. The first one is discovery. So a customer stumbles across or goes looking for or becomes aware of a certain organization or brand, whether through marketing or word of mouth or social media somehow. Second one is, okay, the person likes something about that organization, feels affinity toward it. So we have discovery and affinity. Then the customer has, if they want to buy something or look at something or get a service from this organization, they'll do some research. And they look into the availability and the price and other attributes of that goods or services, and including the brand cachet or reputation. Then maybe they'll make a purchase and have become a paying customer as opposed to a prospective customer. So now they have a receipt, which is they're taking delivery of the product or service, and that includes experience with the delivery, whether it's physical or digital. And then they put the product or service to use, and they consume the service, whatever. At this stage, their perceptions of that the customer has are put to the test. Does the product or service deliver according to expectations, right? Then maybe the customer needs some support. They have a question, they have a problem, whatever. So they interact with the brand about that. And then maybe, depending on their own experiences, the customer becomes an advocate of the brand. And so there's the stages: discovery, affinity, research, purchase, receipt, use, support, and advocacy. And of course, not all customers go through all of those 8 stages.
Oh, okay. Very good. So let's dive into that just a little bit more. So you talked about alignment with the business and whatnot. So which parts of the business or lines of business or departments need to be focused on the customer experience, and why?
Well, the entire business needs to focus on the customer experience, like customer-centric organizations, right? That's a big word right now, customer-centric. Without that happening, customer experience becomes lip service, unless the organization is really focused on it, right? If they're not paying attention to what customers are telling them, for example. And I just had a long and painful experience with that, where it took me a couple of weeks to get my message across to the organization. And finally, the light bulb went on and they got it. They couldn't understand why I was, saying, yeah, your service was great, but this was terrible. So the entire organization has to wrap around the customer experience. And because ultimately the organization's job is to deliver value to the customer, right? And if the experience is part of that value, it's a big part of that value.
Yeah, interesting. And we had a discussion briefly off camera, and I want to make sure that makes it into this this video here, and I'll fold it into this question. So you're talking about business people want measurements and metrics. What metrics and measures do you suggest businesses either adopt or prioritize in order to show the effects of the digital experience? And And how important is that data in use in transforming the organization? And fold in that really cool story you told about a recent anecdote, if you would.
Yes, sure. As I say in the chapter, understanding and measuring the customer journey is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
And most organizations attempt to measure it by asking customers to complete surveys,
Yes, right.
Including customer satisfaction survey, customer effort score, which is a good one, by the way, net promoter score.
Yep.
Unfortunately, a lot of companies measure transactions rather than trying to wrap around the relationship with the customer, which is what the customer experience is all about, as we said at the beginning.
It's something like
other measurements.
It's like a point in time. In other words, you're getting a point in time on that survey, right?
A lot of times they're measuring this transaction. How satisfied were you with your interaction with this representative?
Right.
Okay, that's a transactional survey. And unfortunately, a lot of companies have tried to adapt that to measure customer experience, but it doesn't really work. So you gotta put other things in the mix, like your customer churn rate. How long do they stay? Do they make repeat purchases? Do they have, can you look at a customer's lifetime value? How often do they buy from you? How are they recommending you? All of that. Well, so the old style survey stuff isn't invalid, but you need to add other things into the mix. And luckily, we have some really powerful digital tools that can measure this in real time. Just last week, I was at a conference and was learning more about this particular company's tools. And they had a digital dashboard, and it was looking at the interaction between an agent in a contact center and a customer at the other end. And it didn't matter whether the agent was on a phone call or text or Facebook, how it didn't matter. While this interaction was going on, it actually predicted the net promoter score that the customer would give the company in real time. So the net promoter score would go up and down based on the analytics of what the customer was saying. It was absolutely astounding
and also how they were saying it, right? If it was
absolutely, the words they used, the tone of voice, if they were on the phone or typing in all caps in a text or something like that.
Right.
That's a pretty good key. So AI and machine learning sits behind all this stuff, and that's going to provide a lot of answers that we haven't been able to get. We've been able to gather all this data, but we haven't been able to really use it and not get it in real time. Now we're starting to see that.
Yeah, interesting. That is fascinating and frightening at the same time. So amazing anecdote and great use of that data. So Roy, thanks a lot for chatting with me today, and we really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Frank, and I'm looking forward to the publication of the book.
We are all looking forward to the publication of the book. Everyone, thanks for listening and watching, and tune in next time.